Alright, I'm making my next video. It's been over a week. I've been trying to get back here. I'm not good at laying things out. I keep trying to do it on the fly. I don't like the way it comes out. But I've made a couple decisions that should help this one. The last one I shot was 8 minutes long, and I've made a commitment to keep my videos short. I will try to summarize. I got 3 videos that I care about, that I see contributing to what I hope to accomplish in what's turning out to be a short video series. One, I made a video called "Science Can't Prove Anything?" ? And originally I was just trying to say that I was very tired of that argument or whatever. I thought it shouldn't be a big deal to easily concede that nothing's going to be proven by science or otherwise beyond any doubt. I mean, we're not going to be able to say that there's any fact that will never be contradicted. And I just thought, but you know, so what? That just doesn't mean anything. Doesn't make all ideas equal. Doesn't make every opinion as valid as another. But then as I thought about it, I said, you know what? It is a big deal, and here's why it's a big deal. Because the truth is, it's not what we know for 100% certainty that is the underpinning of who we are and how we live our lives and how we make our decisions. It is our beliefs. That's what it boils down to. Like I said, although not all beliefs are equal, I think they should be respected, and that's why I went on to make 2 more videos called "The Question and the Answer." And the question was, do we choose what we believe? The answer was, no, we don't. And the evidence that I gave, or the test I gave, was you could pick anything that you really truly believe, that you're very sure of, and then stop believing it. And I said, if I'm right, you can't do that. That isn't how, you know, our true beliefs work. And then I thought, you know what, I was sort of getting distracted. Everybody wanted to apply that to atheism, agnosticism, theism, etc. And I don't want what I'm getting at to be specific to any one subject. It just isn't. If those of you who agree that we don't choose what we believe, and that anything, you know, you can only prove things to the satisfaction of an individual to classify it as a fact. How's that? When certain things are substantiated, supported, experimented with, it gets to a point where the individual says, that's a fact that I'm going to rely on. Okay? It doesn't mean it'll never change, but that's how we're out there, each of us making our way through the world. So then, that aside, the point of my question and answer, and what I will call the understanding, if you have a proper understanding of the fact that beliefs aren't changed simply by force of our will or by sheer volition, then you want to, I said I would come back and we would address the question of how do beliefs change them, because they do. But first let me say, I think an understanding of the question and the answer is, I think it's the philosophical, or it's the mental equivalent of caveat emptor. Is that right? Is that buyer beware for the marketplace of ideas? Meaning, if you really understand the question and the answer, then suddenly this becomes apparent. What do you risk in an honest exchange of ideas? And the answer is, you risk what you believe, and that's not a small thing. And the reason I think that's important is because, you know, as I've clarified my goal in my own head, I want to find a place in this YouTube community where I can participate, typically in an honest exchange of ideas. I will occasionally, you know, join in on a flat-out argument. I don't mind that. I just like to know ahead of time what I'm getting into. I don't appreciate when I think I'm getting into an honest exchange of ideas to find out that the person I'm considering things with is insincere, that they're really there just to be heard, just to try to exercise influence over me. I call that mental masturbation, and I don't want to be anybody's left hand. If I don't know what I'm getting into and I find out that I'm being used, then I'll typically bow out. On the other hand, the reason I'm making these videos is because I'd like to set a good, solid foundation for an honest exchange of ideas. I really do value that. The thing is, I realize anytime I do that, I risk what I believe. There's a chance that when we're all done, I'm going to be a different person. I hope I'll be better for it, and that's the idea behind the videos. Now let's talk about, it shouldn't take another second, I want to keep the video short. So how do beliefs, convictions, positions change? And I just propose that they change with new information and consideration. And I'll say that consideration, I believe, goes on, subconsciously and consciously. I think input, your brain is always going to work on that. But admirably, it can be done very intentionally. A person can go out and look for new information to consider, to challenge his or her beliefs, and that's, I find, respectable. Now let's talk about the way you get information, because once again, you've got ways that aren't strictly voluntary. They're not completely up to you. And just off the top of my head, I'm thinking advertising, right? You're driving down the road and somebody's going to shoot an idea at you through a billboard, or you're watching your TV show and a commercial comes up, and you get information, you get input that you didn't solicit. Proselytizing. You got people who come up and want to share a particular religious belief that they hold with you, in the hopes and the efforts to persuade you to think like them, to believe that what they're sharing is the truth. Now, obviously, you can, excuse yourself from that, but at least initially, whatever amount of time and attention they get from you, you're going to get some unsolicited input. And then the third one, and this is one I think we're all going through all the time, and that's experience. And I think of the example of first time you ever sat down on a chair and it broke. And suddenly your belief that, hey, whatever I sit in, it's going to hold me up, it changes. And you don't believe that everything that you ever sit in is going to hold you up. That kind of thing. You see what I'm saying? Your experiences might challenge what you believe. Typically, they're just going to confirm and confirm and confirm and confirm the most typical beliefs that we all share. So I'd like to hear from people in particular who have had a significant change in a belief. Maybe a complete reversal. I've heard plenty of people talking about how they've gone from believers to atheists, or I've read about atheists becoming believers, agnostics. I don't know if you've always been an agnostic. It's kind of middle of the road position, so I think it's easier to stay there longer. But I'd like to hear from people about what it is that has ever caused you to change a belief, and then maybe we could talk a little bit about what we admire and what we I guess some of the things that we don't respect as much in a person that changes their position. And just again, off the top of my head, I'm thinking, a person who changes their mind too easily and too quickly, we call them wishy-washy. And a person who's too stubborn, we call them hard-headed. And a person who never takes a position, I'm going to joke, we call them an agnostic. No, they're fence riders, right? They're sitting on the fence. Basically, the fact that we've got kind of a derogatory terminology for those positions tells me that we don't always respect any of those extremes, which means, we really don't expect people to never change a belief or to change it too easily. And I think if we can all get in on get into agreement on some of these facts, I think it will be a lot easier to have this honest exchange of ideas I keep talking about, without so much defensiveness, without so much anger and ad hom and what have you. I think you can get a lot more enjoyment out of a 6-minute video, and I hope this isn't much more than a 6-minute video. So that was all. Let's call this one The Point. We had the question and the answer, and now I'm telling you the point. And I'll be back.